Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast, Range of Reality with Jody Salerno.
Before I begin this episode, I'd like to tell you about my sponsor. It's my sponsors that allow me to do this podcast, so please support them. If you ever have to defend yourself, the fight doesn't end when the threat is gone. Legal trouble, court cost, lost wages, it all adds up fast. And that's where the United States Concealed Carry Association comes in. They provide award-winning self-defense training and education, but more than that, they've secured liability insurance for their members that helps cover bail, legal fees, and other critical costs after an incident. Over 860,000 responsible Americans already have that backup plan. If you carry or just care about protecting what matters, visit uscca.com and see why peace of mind is part of being prepared. Again, uscca.com, or you can always jump over to my website, rangeofreality.com. Thank you for supporting my sponsor.
This is my very first podcast, so here we go. I'd like to talk a little bit about myself. I'm a business owner. I'm on my 8th business. I, right now, at the current time, own Elite Firearms and Training, a 10-lane indoor shooting range, pro shop and gun store, and I also own Personal Safety Alliance, a lethal and non-lethal self-defense training academy. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I got into this industry. This started for me about almost 11 years ago now. 11 years ago, I never touched a gun. I was totally afraid of them. Like a lot of other females, they're scary, and if I looked at it wrong, it would go off and it would kill me or someone else. Well, what happened to me was I found myself on my own for the first time in my life after 35 years of marriage. I ended up separated and divorced. And during my separation is when this all came to fruition. My ex and I separated in November, the beginning of November, and my older son, Gary, had just gone off to college. I had my younger son, Matt, at home with me at the time. He was 12 years old. And when my ex moved out, Gary came home from college for Thanksgiving and said, "Hey, Mom, you need to get a gun for self-defense. You need to get a gun to protect yourself. How are you going to protect yourself if someone comes in and tries to do you or Matt harm?" And I had said, "Gary, I know that you like guns. You've always hunted. You've taken the distinguished marksmanship course with the NRA, things like that. You're very comfortable with them, but I'm not. So I have no intention of buying a firearm. I'm going to put the security system on my house, and I'm going to put the bat under my bed, and that's going to be my security." And that's what I did. So Gary went back to college. He came back for Christmas. And again, he's like, "Mom, did you get your gun? How are you going to defend yourself?" I was like, "Gary, I'm not getting a gun. They're scary. And if I look at it wrong, it's going to kill me and your brother. We're not going to go there anymore." So what he did, because he did worry about his mom, when he went back to college, he would start sending me videos and articles and clips about home invasions and rapes. And he scared me to the point where I thought, you know what, maybe I need to give this some thought and think about my protection. Because you know what, as women, and I was married a very long time, and I dated him also prior to that, we seem to tend to feel that we don't have to worry about our safety. We're with a guy, he's going to protect us. And that's just a really false sense of security, because even if you are with a spouse, a partner, there's a lot of times you're by yourself and you still need to be able to protect yourself. So that's how my journey started. I decided to go and buy my first firearm, and I took my first class. The class was very basic, but we learned at that class, that beginning handgun class, that this gun's not going to go off on its own. We learned how it works, how to clean it, how to take it apart. And when we went back on the range, it was really exhilarating to hit the target. Took my second class because I knew I wanted to conceal carry. After your first class, there's no way you're going to be able to conceal carry. Took my second class. That class was taught 2 days. We were shooting on the move, shooting under things, shooting around barricades. I was hooked. I had so much fun. And then I met someone that competed. I never knew you could compete, pistol, rifle, shotgun. So he took me to competition. Now you're running and gunning, seeing how quick you can go and get accurate hits on target. And that's how this all started for me. I fell in love with it. So I put my videos up on Facebook because I thought, I'm going to start my Facebook page because I am a boomer and Facebook was new to me. So I put my videos up on Facebook, and women started reaching out to me, and they were like, "Can you teach me? Can you show me? This looks like so much fun." So I started my journey of getting all my credentialing. So if you ever look at my website, elitefirearmspgh.com, you will see all of my training credentials. I actually turned into a training junkie. I couldn't get enough of it. And I am to this day. So the women started reaching out. And what happened was once I got all my credentialing, I started my own lethal and non-lethal training academy, Personal Safety Alliance. And up to this date, I've taught 15,000 women how to hold and use a firearm for the first time. I ran my training company out of my home. I had a home base as my home. I didn't have a retail of anything. So you name the range in the Pittsburgh tri-state area, I taught there. I needed a place to rent the shooting range so I can take at that time the girls. I only taught women at that time. There was one range in the Bridgeville area that I did teach out of. I did my first TV interview there. One day he went bankrupt and I was the first one to the bank. I was the first one to PNC Bank, bought the range out of bankruptcy. So that's how that happened. I ended up with a gun store and a pro shop. Never wanted a gun store. I wanted a shooting range where I can take my students. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, it is an indoor shooting range open to the public, but it's mostly a training facility. Right now we have 6,000 square feet. We're now expanding next door. We're going to have a total of 16,000 square feet. I have a 60 by 30 Hogan's Alley put in, and I have a 4,700 square foot 2-story shoot house, multi-purpose rooms, simulation rooms. So yeah, it's just a really nice training facility for people to come to. A lot of people ask me, why did I open the store? Well, like I said, I opened the store mostly because I didn't want a store. I opened it because I wanted a training facility. I wanted a place to teach. At that time, again, women. I remember how that felt to be vulnerable. And I wanted to be able to teach other women how not to be vulnerable. You know, we've all seen, especially my generation, you know, domestic violence was very high. A lot of my classmates had gone through it. Alcoholism was very high, probably still is. It wasn't talked about back then. So there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes with friends and things like that where you know that people didn't feel safe in their own homes. I think that just resonated with me wanting to try to help people. Challenges for a woman, you know, it's pretty interesting. When I first opened the store, I think still at this time, I am the only female indoor range owner in Pennsylvania. There are a few indoor ranges that are owned by husband and wives. I think I am the only female solely owned. But it's interesting. We can tell a lot of stories about the shooting range, people coming in. It helped me a lot that I was a sponsored shooter by Rudy Project Shooting Team when I first opened the store. It's a hard industry to break into. It's a hard industry for a woman. You know, I was in the construction industry. I was in a lot of different industries. This one's a little tough. And guys, you know, a lot of guys are welcoming, but some of them, they just really don't like the idea that out of all the shooting ranges that are available in the Pittsburgh area, that I ended up with one. So I got a lot of pushback on that. One of the stories I like to tell is guys would come in. You do have to buy your ammo at my store. And one of the main reasons for that is because I know what reloads can do. And I do know that people reload and people buy reloads and they're not safe and they bring them into ranges. And, you know, I don't want the responsibility of your gun blowing up next to customers that are bringing in manufactured ammo. So you do have to buy your ammo at my store. But of course, a lot of people think you're just trying to rip them off. So I would have men come in my store when I first opened a lot and say, you know, hey, I only want to shoot what I carry. I want to practice what I carry. Well, my answer to that would be then go ahead and shoot your hollow points. Because if people aren't familiar, hollow points are your defensive rounds that you want to carry in your gun. Practice rounds or bow ammo is something you want to use on the range. Very big difference in price. So sometimes you're going to pay $1 or more for hollow points. And so I would say to them, go back and shoot all the hollow points you want. I don't care. You can't shoot any target ammo in my range. So at that point, they didn't want to shoot their hollow points. So that was just a little story about, they thought that I didn't know what I was talking about. So challenges for a woman, you know, I've been very fortunate. This is my 8th business, so it's not my first rodeo. So I have been treated a little bit differently. I think I could say I can see it coming a little bit better than maybe another woman that's just entering the industry and just maybe entering her first business. Challenges in general, there are a lot of challenges in the shooting industry. I mean, and I should say in my business, shooting ranges, you know, it's very dangerous. It's staying on top of the employees all the time as far as making sure that the customers are safe, making sure that they're doing what they should back there. And if they're not safe and they're not following the rules, to make sure that we extract them from the range to keep everybody safe. So that is one of the biggest challenges. There are a lot of people that don't have the education on firearms and think that they watch TV, they watch YouTube, and they want to go back and they want to run a gun and they want to put a gun in their hand. So There's a lot of times, a lot of days, I'm really happy I did this. Most of the time, I'm really happy I did this. It's very satisfying, yes, and it's very encouraging. For instance, when we bring women in and they've never touched a gun before, and they come in my class, and a lot of times they're shaking, and they're like, I don't know if I want to be here, and I'm very afraid of these guns, but I know I have to learn how to protect myself. And they come in and they're so afraid, and we start talking to them about the different things that can happen, because these are things you need to know as far as malfunctions and things like that could happen to your gun that could be catastrophic if you're not paying attention to what you're doing. You see their eyes get really big, and then when they go back to the range and we're right with them one-on-one, and my actual, one of my classes is my flagship class, Intro to Shooting for Ladies Only. It's female instructors, female range officers. Women learn differently. We process differently. We want to know, why is that gun doing what it's doing? In other words, we go to a range and we're shooting and we're with a man, and our gun malfunctions. What do? We hand it over to the man. He clears the malfunction, puts it back in battery, meaning put it back ready to go, hands it back to us. We're shooting. It happens again. So we hand it back to the man. He fixes it, hands it back to us. If it happens again, we're just going to hand it back to you and say, hey, I don't want this. It's going to blow up. I don't know what's going on. So it's all education. Women need to know why it's happening, and we need to know how to fix the problem. But a little bit about my qualifications. I am an NRA certified law enforcement firearms instructor. I'm a range officer, firearms instructor, pistol, personal protection inside the home. Also an NRA certified range officer and the Refuse to be a Victim program through the NRA. A recognized spokesperson and facilitator for a Girl and a Gun Women's Shooting League. United States Concealed Carry instructor for Home Defense Fundamentals, Women's Handgun and Self-Defense Fundamentals, and Emergency First Aid Fundamentals. I'm also a United States Concealed Carry range officer, former member of the Rudy Project USA North America shooting team. I'm also an adjunct instructor at Slippery Rock University and Community College of Allegheny County, 2A Empowered Deputy Coordinator for Gun Owners of America. I'm the PA State Director and National Spokesperson at 2A Women, and I'm a PA Brand Ambassador, Pennsylvania Brand Ambassador for Tactica Defense Fashion. Like I said, I turned into a training junkie, still am. Like a lot of successful people, imposter syndrome. You just keep going and going and going. But the reason I wanted to start the podcast is to widen my footprint. I've taught 15,000 women. We've taught over 7,000 men, teenagers, and children. I have a very large customer base, a lot of students, a lot of people in the tri-state area. I do want to extend my footprint so I can reach people nationally with classes. Look, I've been doing this work for decades, but now it's time to package it in a way that reflects who I've become and where I'm headed. Firearms, self-defense training, speaking, online products, podcast, everything that can help women, especially, be better concealed carry holders, come up with products that they can use that are better products for them, and just empower women. Women, we can defend ourselves. We just need the avenues, and we need to learn how to do it. We need the education. Success for me would be helping my students now and in the future in their personal safety development and their women's empowerment. And one of the biggest reasons would be what I went through in my life. Like I said, I met my ex when I was 13. I ended up divorced at like 49 years old. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know which way was up. I had 2 kids, and I found myself on my own for the first time in my life. I went from my parents' home at a young age right to being married to my ex-husband's home. So a lot of women relate to this. This happens to women all the time. There's a lot of single moms. There's a lot of widows out there. I want women to know that they can defend themselves. I don't want women to be told that you can't carry a gun for self-defense because you can't rack the slide or that you'll never shoot anyone. I don't want women to feel that they're not empowered. Everybody can protect themselves. Everybody needs to have a self-defense plan of action, and everyone needs to practice that. And I'm here to help. I want to be a resource to help empower women. Now that we've met, I'd like you to please subscribe to my podcast, Range of Reality with Jody. Our future episodes will include everything from situational awareness to shooting on the range with live fire to training with simunitions with Navy SEALs and security firms to what to do when you're dating as a single woman, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and above. It's going to cover careers, different careers. There's a lot of things for different careers, such as realtors. I've developed a program that's accredited through the Department of Health in Pennsylvania for continuing educational credits for home health care workers and for social workers in the hospitals. I mean, there are so many things that we're going to talk about on this podcast, anywhere from civilian to law enforcement to military. We're going to have a lot of nice, great guests on here, again, from all the different industries, civilians, women, men. It's going to be a great podcast. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Any product that you hear me discuss on this podcast can be found and purchased on my Amazon page. Additionally, I have products that are my personal favorites in terms of personal safety. Check the link in my description. Don't forget to support my sponsor, United States Concealed Carry Association, uscca.com, or on my website, rangeofreality.com.